by any chance the first event you take during this weekend. My name is Gaby Campanario. I am known as the co-founder of SketchFest, also the founder of Urban Sketchers, and for my work at the Seattle Times. And today I'm delighted to be here and introduce Daniel Coffey, the CEO of Daniel Smith. Daniel Smith, when I moved to Seattle and I was starting to sketch, and then I realized, oh my gosh, these brand of watercolors, they are actually homegrown. They started here in Seattle, and when I travel and people have their Daniel Smith tube paints out, and I proudly say, oh yeah, they are from Seattle. So anyway, I'm just gonna let John take it away, and I think you're gonna really enjoy this. And once you paint watercolor with Daniel Smith brand, I must say you just can't go back to anything else, because they are just so good. You know, watercolor is a really difficult medium, and it's difficult enough that if you don't use good quality watercolors, it's even harder. So it really pays off to use good paper and good paints. Good stuff. Oh, you have your own set, right?
Is that? Oh, there we go. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Gabby. All right, so I'm John Coggin, the owner of Daniel Smith. It's been a great ride. I started there 36 years ago in the IT department. And I was able to move to every single department to learn how they work so I could integrate the computer system. And I fell in love with the company. One, I was able to see artists in the store all the time. And making a product that brings joy is absolutely wonderful. There's lots of ways to make money. It's nice to be able to be in a business where a product does a lot of good and creates beauty. So, and you're around fantastic people. So thank you so very, very much. I'm going to go over how we make paint. Sometimes this takes me 2 hours, sometimes this takes me 6 hours. We're going to do it in an hour. If you have questions, please come downstairs. What I'm going to spend at least 15 minutes is to show you how to read a color chart. Once you know how to read it, it puts a lot of power in your toolbox. You can choose colors before you ever squirt them out because it's more of an analytical process. And if you're a watercolorist, by all means, you are analytical. You may not see yourself that way. There's no way to be a watercolorist and not be analytical, because it's all going from light to dark. And once you hit dark, once you hit opacity, you're done. So we're gonna go over that. And I love questions. I may put your question off to a time where it's gonna be hit by something, other area I'm going over. If there's something that you want to go over, I'm downstairs. I love questions. I've seen most of you. Please come on downstairs and ask me questions. I am also live on Thursday at 2 o'clock Seattle time, and also 10:30 we bring an artist, well-known artist from somewhere in the world, to do a presentation on Friday, so Thursday and Fridays. Okay? So with what you're handed out, just really quickly, you have the 266 dot card. We have 272 colors. We came out with extra ones now. Just take a wet brush, and if you touch these, it'll instantly turn into paint. Our binder's gum Arabic. It wets out really, really, really quickly. Thank you. With respect to this lady. Thank you. So there's multiple cards. You can take them out. The neat thing about it, the reason that we came out with these is you can see a color before you buy it. Colors are not inexpensive. So what's really nice is that you can visually see it and tactically touch it. Okay, which is really neat. And you have a workable color chart when you're done that you can put up for reference if you want. On the back side, you have a color stick. These are not crayons because there's no wax in them. They're absolutely just pigment, and they're loaded with pigment. So some of you have come by and you have tried those. They're really awesome ways to have another way to have your watercolor. I made these because pastel artists, when I had the store, there was pastel sticks, and oil colors had oil bars, and watercolors had nothing. So it was just a way to add another way for them to use watercolors. Really nice for plein air, really nice for urban sketchers when you're out and about. They can dry very, very quickly. You can touch them with a napkin and dry them out. So it's kind of a nice tool, just a different tool. So we're gonna go over the watercolor chart that's in here, probably at 1445. We'll go over that. Yes?
Sorry, you said you were live. Is it a radio station or on
It's a Zoom and Facebook. So for those of you that want to be seen, you can come to Zoom. That way you can talk to everybody, or you can come in through Facebook.
How do I access that?
Just go to Daniel Smith and do live, and it'll give you time for Thursday and time for Friday. And we archive all of this. We've archived for the last 4 years. We have anywhere between 80 and 300 people come on for a session. Most of them are just images. Some of them turn on their video. Probably 5 weeks afterward, the number's up to like 14 to 18,000 people have viewed it. So different people watch it at different times of the world. Some people are sleeping every time there's one of the sessions, so you can watch at your convenience. Okay, we're going to start with this right here, and it's how we make paint. So essentially, in looking at this, it goes over the different sections we're going to be going about, which is what is a natural pigment, what is a synthetic pigment, how are the watercolors processed, but the most important part of my business is this right here, which is you, the artist. Without an artist, I wouldn't have a company. I love making color. You can only make that so long before you have nothing left in your bank account. You have to have somebody who loves using it as much as you love making it. And so, thank you very much. Value the artist very, very much in my business. If I look at a pyramid, the artist is on the top. The second layer is my staff, my employees. Many of my employees have been with me more than 10 years. Quite a few of them over 30 years, and quite a few over 20 years. So I really like having my staff. Without a customer, without my employee, I would have no company. So thank you to both of you very, very, very much.
Woohoo!
So if we open this up, you can see John Cogley, that's me. I was younger, still had that white hair though. I started Daniel Smith 36 years ago, and I tell my staff when I do meetings with them once a month, I don't see myself as the guy in the mirror. I see myself as when I started, it was just phenomenal, and it's still phenomenal. Instead of having the store, we closed our stores during COVID. Instead of having the stores, Catherine, who's the president, she's downstairs now. We travel the world. We probably are out 8 months out of the year traveling. Last year I met with roughly 20,000 artists. We gave presentations in 5 continents. And it's the same energy that we had in the store. It's the same creative energy. When we give presentations and we put paint to paper, it's the same energy. You can feel it. It's palpable. It's awesome. So that's exciting. The pigments I use come from 2 places. They come from the earth, or they come from the laboratory. For example, you can have ochres that come from the earth, French ochre, you can have ochres in the US, or you can have ochres that are made in the laboratory. The difference is the one that are made in the laboratory are absolutely perfect. They're made to a specification that someone has given the laboratory to be able to hit, but they're perfect. When you look at nature, they're imperfect. I will hand these out so you can see them. This is zoisite. This big red thing is a ruby. So this is zoisite. It's found in nature, and the imperfectness of this, there's so many different things here, really gives it this granulation. Granulation is caused by differential specific gravity. Things weigh differently, they sort out differently, and you see that when it's put on the paper. You see what's called granulation, reticulation, or flocculation. All 3 are the same thing. It's this process right there. These are drawdowns. This is 1 part paint to 10 parts water, and then we do a wash out the brush, and we do the same thing here, and that way you can see the variance of this particular color. So that is zoisite. This is another example. This right here is serpentine. Serpentine comes from Australia. In particular, comes from part of Australia not many people think about, which is absolutely phenomenal to visit. If you haven't visited, it's Tasmania. And Tasmania is absolutely awesome. So it comes from Tasmania. And super beautiful. You're welcome. This is just an example so you can see tiger's eye and burnt tiger's eye. There's no such thing as burnt tiger's eye. It doesn't really exist in nature. There's tiger's eye. And what I do is I take the tiger's eye and I put it into a furnace and I increase the temperature and I change the oxidation state. And what happens, it oxidizes and it turns red. So these two things are the same. One just happens to be done in a heat. Roasted ochres are similar, same process. So just different oxidation states. Yeah. I'm always asked, what is the most expensive mineral that we use? There's lots of expensive minerals that we do not use. The two that are the most expensive is lapis. Lapis comes from two places. It comes from Chile and it comes from Afghanistan. Afghanistan is jewelry grade. It's easy to use, high quality, but it's very, very expensive. We can also use Chilean lapis. It's less pure. It just means I have to use more of it and take more time. End of the day, they're about equal for me. If I can get Afghan lapis, I try to get as much as possible. It's just easier for me to process. So this is what lapis looks like. I know some of you might be oil colors, for example. The neat thing about watercolor is you see the pigment for what it is. If you're doing acrylic, you're seeing it through a polymer, and when light comes through, it bends through a polymer. If you're doing it through oil, you're doing it through linseed, again, it's going to bend going through that matrix. It's not going to do that with the watercolor. So it's the truest representation of the color. The lapis, I process it down to 80% purity. That's 80% purity. It's a baby blue. If I put this same color into just this pigment, and I put it to acrylic, a polymer, or a linseed oil, it's going to get darker because, again, it has to bend the light. If I wanted 90%, I can certainly do 90%. I will tell you in a second why I don't do 90%. This is about $2,000 a kilo. If I was doing 90%, you're going up to tens of thousands of dollars a kilo because you have to use so much material. None of you would buy it. None of you would buy, I don't think many of you would buy a $400 tube of paint. So there are two other things that are chemically identical to lapis, and that is French ultramarine and ultramarine. They are the synthetic forms of lapis. They're absolutely perfect. My favorite color is ultramarine blue. I love that color. So both of them are chemically identical to lapis. They're just not natural. So how many of you use ultramarine? How many of you use ultramarine blue? Yes, it's pretty useful color. How about French ultramarine? Oh my God, almost the same. What's the difference? That was good. Now,
Well, they're sourced from different countries.
so they're synthetic. So they're not really sourced. They come from the laboratory. They can come from different countries from laboratories. Our material comes from, mainly I buy it from Europe, where there's high-end cars because you get high-end pigment, and the US. Those are my main two countries I buy pigments from. Continuity of color is really important, and they're always very, very good about hitting the mark. So the difference is they're both PB29, and I'll show you that when we go over the color chart. P is always for pigment, always for pigment. B is for blue, and then 29 is where it's been classified. So both PB29, they are exactly the same. Not kind of the same, they are exactly the same. The only difference is the size of the pigment. So one particle is about this big, say, and that's ultramarine. One particle is about this big, and that's French ultramarine. And then there's the beauty of light. When light comes down, it hits the smaller particle, it goes toward the cool or the green. When the light wave comes down and hits the bigger particle, it goes toward the red or the warm. So French ultramarine is slightly more red, slightly more warm, and ultramarine is green, is slightly more cool. And that's the difference. And it's amazing that artists can see the difference. I can't see that difference. I can see it with the machines we have. I can't see it with my eyes, and many artists can see it with their eyes. So that's a beautiful, beautiful thing. So that's the difference. That is caused by size. And the second, I'll go over one that's caused by chemistry. I will hand this out. So here's the warning on this. don't open the lid. This pigment is really super light, and you open the lid, you will be blue. Now, that's not so bad. Is that your neighbor's going to be blue, and you're not going to be happy. So I'll do the Mayan blue in this. Just don't open the lid, okay?
I want to open it now, I really do.
We have some really cool, interesting colors that we'll talk about. Oh, the other one that's expensive is rhodonite. So rhodonite crystals, and some in here you can see some of the crystals. Super expensive because you can, it's gorgeous when it's polished out. So these are found along where they have gold, and these were thrown away as worthless because people were digging for gold. And then later on, now they go through gold tailings and they try to find the rhodonite. So it's quite beautiful, and it's very expensive. And so the last one, this is Mayan blue, and we call it Mayan blue genuine. We have other Mayan colors. We have red, we have yellow, and they're not in the Primatech because they're not genuine. What I mean by that is professors at Texas, at University of Texas, use the same process to make this as the Mayans did. You can't tell the difference between this and the Mayan paintings. If you look at it chemically, it would be the same. It's the same process. It's indigo infused into clay, and then it's processed to make the Mayan blue. So there is no mineral for this. It's an actual process that they used. So we call it a Primatech. We tried a similar process with Egyptian blue. Egyptian blue was so difficult for us to try to make. We kept on making glass because when you look at the way ancient people made things, they had what was available to them. And so they would stoke fires with wood, and wood oscillates up and down. It gets cool, it gets warm, it gets cool, it gets warm. We would put it into furnaces, and you put it on whatever temperature, 400 degrees, it'll stay there till you don't pay the gas bill. And so it's very difficult to figure out how they did things. Almost like when they say how they built the pyramids, and there's a lot of guesses, but nobody knows. Same kind of thing. It's been lost to antiquity. Same thing applies. Don't take the cap off because you'll be green. No, you don't want to be green. I've had grown men be green, and even grown men don't like being green. So we have a lot of things that come from the laboratory. Cars, the pigment for cars. We use a lot of the synthetics, align themselves more for realist art because they don't granulate for the most part. When you're doing a realist painting, you do not want granulation. You know what you call a granulated car? A recall. So you do not want that. There's art all over the world. I've been to every continent except Antarctica, and wherever I've been, ancient people have done artwork. And it's part of the human DNA to show other people and the people that we love what we find important. So whether that's animals or it's agriculture, we want to show that. And that's what we find all over the world. So you're in good company. The next page is everything we're going to go over in a flow chart, so we're just going to pass it. Do you have one of these?
I do, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So page 4 is how I process minerals into pigment. And then from there, we're going to make it into paint, and I'll go over that step with you. So I have a mineralogist. I have a geologist whose sub-discipline is mineralogy. It's Bruce. I send Bruce all over the world. He deals with miners. We make deals with those miners to bring minerals into Tucson. Tucson is the biggest mineral show in the world. The thing I love about that is it has to come in with paperwork. It can't make it to the United States without lots of paperwork. If you're a manufacturer, you want lots of paperwork. It also allows us to see the miner that we've been dealing with, so we can make sure we're paying the right person. And when I say mining, this isn't like gold or silver where you might have visited a mine that's 100 feet or 200 or 500 feet deep. These are mines that might be, if they're super huge, over, I don't know, 40 years, 50 years, they may be the size of this room. Normally, they might be the size of this area right here. because they're not just going after to try to find minerals, they're trying to find specimens. Because schools want specimens, museums want specimens, collectors want specimens. Specimens have value to them. So just like people going after dinosaurs, you see them on their hands and knees with toothbrushes, making sure they don't mess up the crystals, that they can get them in full form. Anything that breaks, I'll buy whatever breaks. It doesn't matter to me. I'll buy all breaking pieces. Yes?
Once you process the rock or the mineral into the powder, does that have the same shelf life as a rock would, or that?
Absolutely.
I was just curious.
Yeah,
Thank you.
it's just in smaller form.
Okay.
Yep. Okay, so I will take something, this lapis right here, if there's a video I will show you, you could watch. Some of these, they come from Chile, they're the size of Volkswagen Beetles. They're mammoth. From Afghanistan, they're smaller. You know, I have one that's actually this big by this big. That's good size for Afghanistan, because that's jewelry grade. But I will take that and I'll put it what's called in a jaw mill. This is a jaw mill. And a jaw mill just squeezes. It doesn't crush. We don't crush anything. I'll tell you why in a second. So it just squeezes. And minerals, for the most part, are crystals. And crystals are very strong, but they're very, very weak. And they're very weak around their lattices. That's why you can break a diamond. You can squeeze it all day long. It doesn't matter how strong you're not going to break it. But if you strike it on its lattice, it will give way and break. So that's what the jaw mill does. So we can go usually about the size of this to the size of about this. So from a basketball to about the size of a golf ball, maybe a little bit bigger than a golf ball. We will take that and we'll put it in what's called a hammer mill. And our hammer mill is probably 7 feet high, and it's a bunch of little hammers that chip and chip and chip and chip. They just hit, 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 hit. They don't crush, they just hit. And that golf ball will be turned into, excuse me, the size of a piece of rice. Once we have the size of the piece of rice, we'll put it in what's called a ball mill. And ball mills, just like your dryer, will tumble and tumble and tumble and tumble and tumble until we get to what's our magical size, which is less than 40 microns. How many of you know how big a micron is? So, quick example, the thickness of this piece of paper is about 100 microns. And what we're looking for is 40. So about 2/3 the diameter of your hair. Not something you can see with the naked eye. And that's the biggest that we're going to have it be. It can be smaller than that. That process could take us months. It could take months to do that process. So, crush versus cleave. We cleave. An example of that is if I took granulated sugar and I went outside into the sun and moved it around, I would see reds, yellows, blues, because it's a prism. It's a crystal, it's a prism. If I then walked in, put that down, and put a cup of powdered sugar, and walked outside, deader than a doornail. There's no life, there's no crystal. It's just powder. So if you crush something and destroy the powder, you have no more reflection or refraction. It's just dead. Okay? So that's what takes the time. It takes a long time not to crush, that you're cleaving. It's a very, very long, laborious process. In manufacturing, like most things, time is money. The more you have something sitting on the machine that you can't do something else with, there's labor, there's overtime, there's the building, everything is in that process, the price just starts going up. That's why there's a difference between a series 1, 2, 3, and 4. If the pigment's not that expensive for me and I can make it quickly, I drive it down to the cheapest possible. If it's a rhodonite, which is close to a beryl, which is harder to process than steel, its Mohs factor is higher than steel. It takes a long time to process. It's an expensive mineral and it's an expensive process, and that's what increases the price. Okay, as we turn the page and come into the next page, we can see vessels. So a lot of making paint is a lot like cooking. Very similar. Most of manufacturing is like that. We get what's called a vessel, and that's in your house, that'd be a pan. Some of these for us in the laboratory, I have three sets of chemists in a full laboratory. My R&D chemist just looks at new pigments and new methodologies that we're using and creating. My chemist in the lab is then going to use, I can use anywhere from 2 ounces to 4 ounces, and we have all the equipment on our floor, but it's in miniature, and we will make a miniature batch. That's what these are from. These are from the miniature batch that we do in the laboratory. So we can go from 2 ounces in the laboratory to just under 400 gallons on the floor. Big range of what we can do. So in the vessel, we're going to put distilled water. The reason we use distilled water is we want to limit our variables. You want to put as least amount of variables in anything you're doing. So to have continuity, we're going to use distilled water. We're going to run that through huge UV filters to kill anything that might be in there. So it's low ion and there's nothing else in it living. If you use tap water, if you lived on you have well water, you can use any water you want when you're doing your watercolors for you yourself. If you want to hit the same place all the time, distilled water is certainly the best way to go. However, you can use any water you want. Okay? Different than manufacturing it. So we're going to use a mixer. Our mixers are similar to yours. Your mixer, if you put frosting or a cake mix in a vessel and you push on the speed and it starts spinning, you're going to put air and it's going to rise. So we have to get rid of the air. And we want to make sure it's as mixed as possible before we put it onto what's called our 3-roll mill. Our mixers go up to 16 feet high. And while the shaft on yours, maybe this on mine, is this big, these shafts are this big. And the blades are up to 18 inches. So they're massive pieces of equipment. And we will leave it there until our material is totally, what we call it wetting it out. It's totally wet. Way to understand it is you put frosting inside of a bowl and you put milk or whatever. You just want no powder left. Same thing. We want everything to be into solution. When we're done that, the chemist is going to, so our floor chemist has to sign off on everything. When the guys put the dry ingredients in the vessel, he has to come out, he or she, now they're all he's, he has to come out and sign off that everything that's on the batch ticket to make it is in that vessel. Then when they're done mixing it, he will come out and he will test it to make sure everything has been wetted out. One thing that's going to happen when we wet it out is we're going to get what's called an agglomerate. That's this picture right here. An agglomerate happens because particles have an electrostatic charge. They're little magnets, and they want to be on top of each other. Almost like when you take socks out of a dryer, you have an electrostatic charge. The same thing. The socks want to hold together. These particles want to hold together. If we let them hold together, it forms an agglomerate. And when light hits it, it scatters. And when it scatters, you get hot spots and cold spots. When you think about the luminescent colors we sell, those are all refractive colors. Okay? So we want it to be more reflective, and we do that by putting it in what's going to be called a 3-roll mill. It's going to get rid of the air, and it's going to create the particles to be more linear. So the color saturation we get will be higher. It'll be a higher saturation out of that pigment. Okay, this is the machine that we use. We put it on what's called a 3-roll mill. It's going to take out the air, and it's going to get rid of that agglomerate. So this whole process, the fastest we can do it probably would be 2 days. And on some of them, the Primitex, and some other ones, it's going to take up to a week, just on these machines. If anything happens in terms of the 3-roll mill, we just can't add water to something. It has to get taken off and go all the way back to the mixing. You can't just remix it. You have to go and look at the chemistry of what you did and refigure everything else what you did to make sure now it's all back to being equal again. So it's a very long process. We've had a couple of mistakes. Everybody has mistakes. I always tell my staff, if there's an issue, I don't like issues, but it's not an issue to me unless it goes out of house. If you let it go out of house and it goes through custody, then I have an issue. If you catch it in-house, we will fix it or we will kill it. There's not an issue. That's part of learning, that's part of growing. So I've caught some in-house, haven't caught them out of house, which is phenomenal. One that we caught in-house, we have Moonglow. Some of you came and tested Moonglow. You said you love Moonglow. When they were doing Moonglow is Amphoray Red, Viridian, and Ultramarine Blue. They left out the Amphoray Red by mistake and they put Pyro Orange. And that became Shadow Violet. So, yeah, it's still a very beautiful color. It has a slight orange tint to it, whereas the Moonglow has a slight red. So sometimes mistakes aren't that a bad thing, but whether they're good or bad, if mistakes stay in-house, you know, that's just part of having a good company, that you catch it and you make it right in-house. Okay, next page. This right here, at some point you'll want to watch this. You can see in roughly 3 minutes, something that takes me over 30 days. It'll show you every step. If we go to the next page,
So
yes?
30 days, that's on average how long from rocks to paint?
Yeah, that takes about 30 days. The mineral ones can take longer. Quinacridones can take 30 days. They're easy to process. Minerals are not really easy to process. The minerals, for one thing, is, I'll come back to that.
Okay.
It's a good question. So we use xenon phaedometer. If you're a watercolor artist, then the thing that's most important to you is going to be light fastness. Light fastness is tested with a xenon phaedometer. It used to be tested on a slant board in Yuma, Arizona, which is kind of one of the brightest places we have in the US. And they, ASTM, moved to a xenon phaedometer. So it's computerized, it has a xenon bulb that's about this big, about this wide. We shoot distilled water down the center of it. It's about a $3,000 bulb. It lasts about, we can do probably 6 tests that are 15 hours before it destroys itself. And we have to replace it. So that's how we test. We also, once we're done testing, we send it out to ASTM and we do, it's actually the 3rd test. First one is done by the manufacturer of the pigment. It's on their bags. We take that, we double test that to make sure that's accurate, and then we send it out of house as well. So rules of 3. For toxicology, we do rule of 2. We have Duke University, which does toxicology in the US. And then we have REACH. So we have another laboratory that does all of Europe and Asia. That's called REACH. So we do double toxicology on everything that we sell. It's a good thing for you always to flip over the back of your tube and seeing that you're having ACMI and ASTM. Those are 2 houses that have the standards for toxicology and also for light fastness. I will tell you neither one of those is cheap. If you're a known chemist, to have double chemistry houses test things and have your own machines is not inexpensive. It's actually very expensive.
You said ACMI and what?
ASTM
Oh, it's the.
and ACMI. So how we test is we will do a drawdown. We have a special paper. We'll do the drawdown. We'll present that to a photospectrophotometer, and it will give us a reading. So we say we draw a circle here. We'll test that circle. It'll give us a reading. We'll put it into the xenon phaedometer. We'll run it for the 15, 18 days. That will give us roughly, it's 100 plus, so it can give us what would it be like 110, 120 days of light. We will take that back to the photospectrophotometer, have it read the same place, so we get a before and after. So the after is now it's been exposed to that xenon phaedometer light, and we'll see what if it's degraded, and that's how we get the readings. It's the same way ASTM is going to have the readings. It's all the same standard. If you have chemists, then you live with standards. It's what they do. It's like living with an engineer. It's like their standards. This is what you do. This is how you do it. Okay, the next page. The next page is just kind of to give you something about hardness. Many of the things that we use are in the corundum and topaz. So very, very hard, harder than steel. That's neither good or bad. For me, it's not necessarily a good thing. I put those onto my 3-roll mill, and within 18 months, no more than 24 months, it'll wear my rolls down, that I have to then buy new rolls, and to do what we call a roll set switch, is $60,000.
Oh my God.
I have 5 machines, so it gets quite pricey. And if you're keeping on top of your machines because you want to make sure that you have continuity, it's something that you have to do. So having a manufacturing facility is a labor of love. There's just a lot of things all the time. This is just an example of the granulation or reticulation. Again, differential specific gravity. This is giving you moon glow as the example. If we look at this, the anthracite red is the lightest, so it kind of floats up on top. The ultramarine is a little bit heavier, so it goes down a little bit. Viridian is the heaviest, so it goes to the bottom. That differential specific gravity gives you the reticulation. Some people say they like that. That's how it's being formed, is through reticulation or through differential specific gravity. Okay, the next page. Oh, this is size. So this right here is a human hair, and this is 40 microns. Kind of gives you and some of you have come in and asked me why there's 2 blacks, one black in particular that behaves really interestingly, and it's lunar black. And they would ask me, well, why does that? It's Mars black in oil, it's lunar black in watercolor, different name but same pigment. It's because it's a nanoparticle. It's less than one micron. It's less than 1 micron. Which you might ask yourself if you're an engineer or just like numbers, how do you create a sieve that can hold something back that's greater than 1 micron? Right? If it's 1/40th the size of a hair, it's pretty damn small. It becomes dispersion agents. It all goes back into chemistry. So everything you do with color, the neat thing about using color, being an artist, doing art, is it melds physics, which is how you see the light. It brings in the chemistry, how you get those colors, and it brings in the art, how you use those colors. So there's probably nothing really more beautiful to show a child because it's not scary. You say, look at the beautiful rock, they go, wow, that's really beautiful. Look at the beautiful color, wow, that's beautiful. And look, we created crystal, oh, that's really cool. There's nothing scary. The bad thing, however, at least in the US, what I have noticed is art's being taken out. So it's harder and harder, which is opposite of Asia and opposite of South America, who really value art, and it's looked at as being very positive, and it's taught at all ages. So maybe we'll get back there. So I showed you how a color can differ because of size. Here's how a color can change because of chemistry. This right here is a quinacridone. Okay, that's the molecule for quinacridone. Quinacridone just means 5. So it's a 5-ring structure, gives the name quinacridone. And this one right here is pigment violet. So it's PV19. And people ask me, well, if I knew it was PV19, can I go to this manufacturer, that manufacturer, and get the same color? And the answer is no, you can never do that. Because for any particular number, there could be multiple shades within that. So if we look at PV19, which is quin violet, it's also quin red and it's also quin rose. And I don't know if in your head if you can see quin red and quin rose, but they are all 3 very different looking colors that all have the same pigment designation, pigment violet 19. And those are caused by these little particles right here. These are alpha and beta particles. And where the alpha and beta particles go on this molecule changes the color. Super, super, super high-end colors. The gold that we originally had was used for Toyota. Probably 20 years ago, I bought the world supply of it. It cost me $250,000. Before that, we could only buy 60 kilos, 2 bags at 60 kilos. That was our allotment. Anything that Toyota didn't use, because they were the ones that was being manufactured for, anything they didn't use went to the market that people could buy. And it was a very popular color in our oils. It became a very popular color in our watercolors.
That was Quin Gold, you said?
That was PO49. Now we use PO48. Yep. Okay. I think you asked a question. What was your question?
How long from rocks to paint? How long is the process on average? You said about 30 days.
Yeah, so for minerals, it paints about 30 days. It can be faster for some of the synthetics because we don't have to worry about cleaning them. The Permatex are all about We don't want to crush them. It's all about cleaving them. Quinacridone, we won't have to worry about that. Yes?
I own a lot of crystals, and there are a lot of inclusions in them.
Mhm.
For example, you've got the gold that's in the lapis,
Mhm.
and you've got the black that's in the turquoise,
Mhm.
or white. How does that change the color? Because your colors are also consistent.
Yeah, we're going to use that, so that's going to give us granulation. Again, those things that make it different allow it to granulate. So we're not going to take any of that out. We can hit the same, just how we use the concentration. So we'll either use some of the minerals react well to a base, so we use a base to get rid of things. Some acids, we'll use acids. Some we don't use anything. For example, Sedona, we won't use anything. We don't have to use anything.
But there are different amounts of the gold in the different pieces of minerals. So
Uh-huh. So we're going to mix it all together. We have already the standard, so we keep a standard of each batch that we make, so they're all going to be the same as the batch before it. And the chemist is going to make sure when he formulates it, how he uses it in different amounts, is going to give him the same result.
How do you make the duochrome or interference colors?
So we don't make the duochromes and interference. They are very, very, very complicated colors. They're a mica sandwich. So we use those, and they're from the car industry. They're beautiful, beautiful pigments. Yes?
Do you have a different process between your tubes and your pans?
So the only difference, thank you, the only difference between the tubes, the pans, and the sticks is the amount of water inside. They all use gum arabic, which comes from the acacia tree, and they all use the same exact pigment. It's different water. So in a pan, we fill up the pan, we dehydrate it, we fill it up again, we dehydrate it, we fill it up again. So it's been 3 times through. On the sticks, it starts about the size of a hot dog, and we go through probably a month, at least several weeks, if not a month, of dehydrating it down. If we do it too fast, the stick cracks to get rid of the water. And the tubes, we don't worry about that. The tubes, we make the batch and then we tube it. So tubes have about 15%. The sticks have about 12%, 11%, 12%, and the pans have about 8%. So it's just water that's the difference. The most concentrated is the pan. Americans, we created the pans because the French market wanted it. Americans really just dive into the pan. I always tell them, just take off a 2 degree concentration in your wet. It'll last you a long time. But they're all the same in terms of the pigment and the binder.
That's what this.
It's the same. Yes.
Could you repeat the question when people ask so that everyone can hear?
Yeah, absolutely. Yes.
Could you explain light fastness?
Sure. Can I explain light fastness? So why don't we take up this? It's in your dots. It's the color chart, and we will answer that by learning how to quickly read a color chart. So it might be in the middle. I know it's not on the very top, but it's in there somewhere. I know it's there. Okay, so I like that we do it in twos. You can do it in threes, but it's easier if you have a partner next to you. That way, when they point and we all point together, everybody can see what we're pointing to. If you don't understand this and you really want to know, then see me afterwards, because for you to leave and not know how to read a color chart, it's a phenomenal tool. It's just a great tool, and it's pretty easy to learn how to read. Okay? So we have 272 colors. These are the general colors. If we turn it on the back, we have the Primatech colors. We have the luminescent, which is the right here said iridescent, pearlescent, duochrome, interference. Those are the luminescent colors. And then over the side, there's the gouache. The art gouache is a water media. It uses the same pigment, the same binder. There's just a lot more of the pigment to make it opaque. So to get to opacity, we just use a lot more pigment to get to opacity. That makes it a gouache. Okay? So if we talk about the colors, let's just talk about how we read one of the colors. And we'll start right here with buff titanium. Could you all put your finger on buff titanium so everybody can see it? It's right here. Okay, what you guys see it? Awesome. Anybody not see buff titanium? Okay, so if we look at buff titanium, and if we look right here at the top, this is our legend. This is going to help us read and learn about the color. Right here, the legend. This is going to help us read it, understand it. The first thing that we're going to see is light fastness. So when we, usually in watercolors, we're going to talk about light fastness. It's the same as permanence. Permanence and light fastness in watercolors is the same word. But in general, you're always going to hear it called light fastness. It's like granulation can be reticulation, it can be flocculation. It's granulation. So just put the words as they're just one thing. It is the most important thing if you're an artist that wants to sell your work or keep your work, etc. It's hard to go back and say, now that I've really hit my peak and I'm just this phenomenal artist, I want to start selling, I want to go back and make it light fast. No, if you've done that painting, however you use that pigment and what it was is what it is. So you just kind of make that, you need to make that determination pretty early, so, because it cannot change. So if we look at the first thing, buff titanium, let's learn about buff titanium. So the name is buff titanium. There are other things that we have, isoindolin yellow. Isoindolin yellow, if it's a single pigment, you go by the creator. Just like if you have a daughter and you call her Gina, when I meet her, I'm gonna call her Gina. I'm not gonna call her Paula. The creator called her Gina, I'm gonna call her Gina. We do the same thing as a matter of homage. If somebody created it, we wanna pay homage to the person that created it. More than one pigment, it's up for grabs. Okay, but single pigment, there was a creator. So buff titanium, if we go down to the bottom, it's PW6. What's P mean? What's P mean? Pigment. So this is pigment white number 6, shade 1. If I look at titanium white, it's pigment white number 6. Okay. Titanium white is pigment white number 6. Buff titanium is pigment white number 6, shade 1. Okay. If I look above it, it's going to tell me what it's above it. Tell me what it's available in. So when people say is it available in a tube, etc., this says it's available in 15 mil, large tube, 5 mil, smaller tube, stick format, and half pan. It's available in all those formats. So now to learn about it. To learn about it, we look at the legend, and the first thing we're going to read is going to be about light fastness, and 1 means it's been tested for 100 plus years. Now we may test it and it's 110 years or it's 130 years. We're going to say it's greater than 100 years. Otherwise, there'll be numbers everywhere. Okay, so 1, greater than 100 years. 2, 100 years. Right? We have 2 colors that are not permanent. One of them is opera pink. Yep. And the other is going to be our alizarin crimson. Alizarin crimson is a coal tar derivative. It was used by the masters, and to this day, professors want their students to use what the masters used, so we still keep it. It is a non-permanent color, which means 20 years, 30 years. You put it under conservation glass, put it in a back room, it can go more, but by definition, it is fugitive. If you want to use a permanent version, we create a permanent version. We use a different mix of permanent colors, so it's greater than 100 years, 100 plus years. Yes?
So, with the alizarin crimson, is it not light fast in oil and in watercolor?
Yeah, so that's a good question. It's all about not about the process, it's about the pigment, and it's a fugitive pigment. So it doesn't matter what it's used in, it's going to behave the same. Yep. The other one is the opera pink. I made that for the Botanical Society. And it is a fluorescent. It's very, very, very bright. And people ask me, well, in 30 years, will it be as white as this paper? The answer is no. And that's because I mixed our opera pink with quinacridone magenta. So when the fluorescent goes away, what you'll see is quinacridone magenta. And that's 100 plus years. But you will lose that super vibrant fluorescent. And I'm always asked by the people, are you going to make more? And I said, no. I went to my first degree My bachelor's degree was from UC Davis in botany, and I met a lot of a whole society of people that were doing, artists that were doing trees and flowers. There's like 500 of them. And they said, we're professional artists, but this is the kind that we do. We want something bright. So I went against what I would always say, I would never make a fugitive color, and I made one because they were right. But I've never made another one, and I won't make another one. It is a very pretty color, and again, you'll end up with quinacridone magenta, so I feel good about that.
So we should buy a lot of it.
I'm sorry?
We should buy a lot of it.
Use it up.
I will always make it. Yeah, people really love it. Thank you for buying it. So the first one was going to be for permanence or light fastness, whoever asked that question. The second one is going to be for staining. So it's a 1, 2, 3, or 4. Staining is, can I pick the color up? Can I put the color down and then get a wet brush and pick the color up? If I can pick the color up, right, create a negative space. This is all blue. And I can pick it up with a brush and create that. It's a 1. 2, a little bit more pigment. 3, more pigment. 4, you're not moving it. So, okay? So it really stays. 1, 2, 3, and 4. The next one that we get to is a yes or no. And a yes or no is we look at the colors and see if there's any form of granulation. And that's because granulation is, if I have a granulated color and a non-granulated color, I can impose granulation to a non-granulated color. Right? So if this one, you're painting and you put your wash down and this one touches this one, I can add some of that particles to this one and make it kind of granulated. If I'm doing a Ferrari, if I'm a realist painter, I'm doing a Ferrari, or I want no granulation. So I'm going to look for everything that says N. And I'm going to use any color in that painting that says N, because I want no granulation. Right? If I'm doing this really cool old tractor out in the prairie and beside there's an old shack that has a door that's peeling, I'm going to use granulated colors like there's no tomorrow, because it's going to add so quickly that to my painting. Okay, the next one is opacity. And opacity, and the thing why if you're a watercolor artist, you're super analytical, because you cannot paint things as you see them. You can do that with gouache now, but gouache is a water media, not a watercolor. You can do it with an oil. I can do red and black, and it doesn't matter what I do. I can go lights and darks, it doesn't matter. But if I'm doing watercolor, it is all about going from light to dark. And once you hit opacity, you're done. So to do that, you have to look at every object. Whether you know you're doing this or not, you're doing it. You look at an object, and it's like doing a puzzle. You're taking it apart. So I look, and the buff I'm going to do first, and the green and the black I'm going to do last because it's opaque. And I put up, and I do it in series. And that's all about being a watercolor. That's why it's so difficult, because if you screw up any of those in that track, your painting can be messed up. So that's how you can see some really watercolors that their brain just goes pulse at night. Because if they were to mess up any one of those things, you would see it instantly. So you always amaze me. Watercolors really amaze me in a very good way. Okay, so let's think about this for a second. So I did a presentation in the Philippines, and it was probably, we had to stop because of fire code at 2,500 people. So we had 15 phenomenal artists that then had a table of students with them. And the one closest to me, she was very young, and she had her students, and she said, okay, today we're going to use a green. And what I want to do is I want to do a wash with a green, and then I want to pull that green up to make a negative space to put another color in that negative space. What was she thinking?
Right?
What?
Oh, I said right.
Okay. What kind of green was she looking for? Very, yeah, absolutely. Non-staining, because she wanted to pick the color up, right? So you want a non-staining green. And that's why over that cup of coffee, you can choose what green you want to use by what you want to accomplish. You can already see the image in your head because you're an artist. Now you got to pick the colors that are going to make that happen. Okay, so we have the same artist, and now she's talking to her students. She goes, I want to use a I want to use a green, I love green, so I want to use a green, and I want to do several glazes. What is she thinking about? Transparency, absolutely. If it's a transparent color, you can instantly get away with 3, probably 4. If it's an opaque, you're done the minute you use it. Semi-transparent, maybe 2, maybe 3. Okay? So that's why we have so many yellows and so many greens, is because they're not the same. Some granulate, some don't granulate. Some stain, some don't stain. Some are transparent, some are semi-transparent, some are opaque. You can choose over a cup of coffee what you want to use just by reading what they can do. So people tell me all the time, well, you know, my teacher used these 8 colors. There's nothing wrong with using those 8 colors. I will tell you over time, he or she has learned how those 8 colors work, because if any of them was opaque, they were done the minute they used them. Doesn't mean it's wrong. It means they looked through it, they learned how it worked, and they knew what their colors and their toolbox would allow them to use. You can do the same thing by being able to read the color chart. If we're going to quit in a minute or two, if you don't know how to read a color chart when you leave today, come downstairs, and it takes 3 or 4 minutes for me to go over it. It's a really powerful tool for you to have and for you to be able to use. You should know how to read a paper, and whether it's cold press or hot press, and what that paper will do, what the sizing will do, how fast the absorbency will be, how to use a brush, how to unload a brush. I get questions all the time. My ultramarine really looks washed out. Well, it's the person isn't unloading their brush. So when they pick up the water, they're loading the belly of the brush fully with water. The last thing they pick up is the paint. They put a little bit of paint down now, the belly releases and pushes all the water, and you get blah. So it's good for you to learn how your tools work, and there's so many tools for watercolor artists. You picked a great medium. It is not the easiest medium, but it is a fun medium. My mom will always use it because we wash out of our clothes. But now it's a phenomenal. Yes. So what's implied by a quin color and a phthalo color? It's just the chemistry. So a quin is a quinacridone that was made in a certain way for a certain customer, which was Toyota or the car industry. They have a chemistry. Yeah, but insofar as you're concerned, all you are concerned about is the pigment that they make from it and how that pigment is used. Phthalos are beautiful colors. They are very, very bright. Do you know what the main characteristic of a phthalo is that people don't like? Staining. Yeah. I have a friend, she's a brand ambassador, lives in San Diego. She's 80 years old. And she said, I will beat the hell out of those colors. And that's all she uses. She'll scrub them. She'll just beat the crap out of them because they're so bright and so beautiful. But the thing that scares most people is, oh my God, they'll stain. I won't be able to pick it up. What's the worst that could happen? You get rid of that piece of paper and you start over again. Somebody else had a question too. Yes?
Where does the iridescence come from?
So the iridescents are part of the luminescent family, and the luminescent family comes from the car industry. Luminescents are pearlescent. When you see cars glitter, usually back in the day, that was pearlescent. Iridescent means you can see them over black really well, but you can also see them on white. Interference are refractive colors. You really can't see them on white, but you can see them on dark. And then duochrome is both reflective and refractive simultaneously. So it's one color that shifts, it's one pigment that shifts to 2 colors. But car industry. Yes?
Can we tour the factory?
I can't tour the factory anymore because during COVID, the insurance companies lost so much money. They said you can have insurance, or you can do tours and not have insurance. Yeah.
Where is it?
Seattle, Washington. We're located in Seattle, Washington.
Can you explain granulation again?
So granulation, granulation, reticulation, flocculation, like a reticulated python, you know, that really cool shape they have. So it's caused by differential specific gravity, which means some things weigh more than others. So it's almost like building a sandwich in your mind. That's what you're creating. So when you put it on the paper, the cold press paper, It's going to run like rivers, and the things which are lightest are going to run furthest, things which are heavy are going to stay, and that's what causes it. You will also get granulation on hot press paper, but it'll be more radial, like a raindrop hitting. When a raindrop hits, so it'll still do it. It's actually going to be way more vibrant on hot press paper and more apt to get messed up, because if you move it, it's not going to go into the sizing quickly. So when you deal with watercolor, you also want to look at your paper and your sizing. If something doesn't have a lot of sizing, it means the pigment are going to dive deep into the paper, and you're going to get very dull paint. Even though paint needs to be very vibrant, once you hide it where it can't reflect or refract the light, it's not going to have the vibrancy. You guys have been fantastic.
Thank
No more
you.
questions, come down and see me. Thank you.